So when Dawn Trail came out, I decided to check out what the new Malmstone 25 reward would be, and saw that it was an oppressor mount key. And it was in that moment when I knew, this is going to be the first thing I do once I complete the MSQ. This is the mount that I need. Palace of the Dead can wait. The oppressor mount will be the thing that makes others look at me and think, how do I get that mount? Hello, I'm Itty Bitty Tivy, and I am on a quest to pause my goal of reaching max level and everything in favor of reaching level 25 in a very specific part of the game. So how does one get Malmstone 25 so that they can acquire this oppressor mount? Well, that's by participating in a little thing called PvP. PvP, of course, stands for player versus player, and so you will very much be going head to head against other actual living people in an attempt to get points to win a thing. There are many game modes that focus on PvP, but since I did not do them all, I will go over with a very broad brush the game modes I did do. To start off with, a mode called Crystalline Conflict. The idea is to run head first and without regard to a central area with your team of 6 to stand in a little zone with the intent to push a large crystal into the enemy team's area and hopefully right up to their base. Now the enemy team of 6 is not going to like that and will try to stop you. If you are anything like me, while trying to win the match, you are also trying to level some combat classes that you don't particularly care for, in this case Monk. Something you will notice, or maybe it was just me, is that the enemy team will have basically only range, so you won't be able to do any damage without getting yourself knocked out. This will embolden the enemy team, and they will steamroll your team, which you made weak by choosing a class you don't know how to play. And that's more or less Crystalline Conflict, because after realizing I'm terrible at it, I stopped dragging down the poor people I cursed with me being there. But that's not to say there's nowhere for terrible players to go, which is why the rest of the video will be focusing on frontline PvP arenas. What is a frontline? The fastest way to find out would be to open your duty finder and check that box at the bottom for the frontline roulette. But if that brings you a deep unknown fear, then a frontline is a brawl between 3 alliance raids. There are currently 3 frontline maps in rotation: Onsai Hakar, Sealed Rock, and Fields of Glory. Each map will have a different way to score points and different strategies to get the most out of the points. But let's start with Onsel. If I did the editing correctly, you will be seeing a map of Onsel now. On this map there are 3 starting locations, one for each of the grand companies from A Realm Reborn: the Adders, the Maelstrom, and the Flames. You will be sorted into one of the 3 as though a particularly violent sorting hat is in charge. After the gates release you, you little kraken you, your team is going to start just booking it for the center. This is a trap. On Onsel, it will take about 20 to 30 seconds before the first set of things called Ovo make themselves known like a shy virgin at an orgy. Now is the time for your team to rush to whatever Ovo they can get to before the other teams can. Typically there will be a fight at the Ovo, but sometimes if you get there before anyone else, and if you appear confident enough, the other teams will just give it to you for free. Now, the Ovos will come in 3 different categories. There's triangles, squares, and pentagons. Depending on the shape or rank, because it's also C, A, and S, of the Ovo, when your team captures it, you will receive an income of points. Now once you capture the Ovo, feel free to leave it there, as there is no way for the other team to take it from you. So, sometimes in the middle of a fight, it can be helpful to just try to give capturing the Ovo a shot. Maybe you won't get attacked and have the concentration broken. Though, if you see someone else trying to capture it, make sure to remind them of how bad of an idea that is. Remember, it's only a good idea when you do it. Please be aware that if your team captures a lot of Ovos at the start of the match and you get a lot of points very quickly, you may get a target put on your back. Be careful here, because Ovos aren't the only way to get points. The other, more violent way is to attack other players on enemy teams and knocking them out. So, in theory, if you capture an Ovo but get steamrolled by another team, you could hit a net loss on points, making the whole thing unnecessary. Just something to keep in mind. There's more to Onsel, but I'm done talking about it. I'm moving on to Seal Rock, which is just Onsel but with 2 major differences. The first difference being the map itself. It is not the same. The second difference being that this is a defense map. In Seal Rock, when you take over what would be an Ovo, you will need to stick around because another team can come in and decide that they want those points more. So it can be beneficial to leave a few members behind to hold the fort while the rest of the team goes to take other people's Ovos. The Ovos come in the same ranks of B, A, and S. I do think I said C rank while talking about them on Onsel, but I'm not re-recording the voiceover. A good thing to remember about Seal Rock is that because of the defensive nature of the game mode, the map reflects that. So many of the capturable points are behind defensive walls, on the tops of tunnels, or up in some scaffolding. Also, it should be noted that if your spawn point is the north one, you got it rougher, as it just feels like there's less points near your base for the people that got swarmed to get on their way back to the fight. All that's left to talk about is the Fields of Glory, truly the most violent place for PvP unless you like rival wings, which I do, but I didn't do any of that. So, Fields of Glory's big different thing is that there's snow on the ground. We're in Coerthus, baby. But also the main way to gain points is to attack and destroy big crystals that activate as the match goes on. Each team will have a crystal that they can easily get to and one that is harder to get to and is quote unquote the other team's. But honestly, if you can beat them back, then their crystal is actually your crystal. After the first set of team crystals is destroyed, there will be a central crystal that activates, and that's when our old friend Center comes back. All three teams will converge on the center of the map and there will be a 4-way battle, each Grand Company team and the crystal itself. Use this time to pick off idiots standing in AoEs while keeping an eye out for yourself. Don't want to become points for the other teams. Around 6 or 7 minutes, a load of smaller crystals with 50 points will spawn near the bases. This is the time to mosey on over to the enemy side and see how many points you can make off with. Watch out though, they will likely be trying to do the same. So that about covers the main parts of each front line. I'm going to give a few tips to make things smoother, but honestly these can only go so far. Firstly, have a shot caller. Someone in the alliance chat that can direct people and inform on spawns can be a difference between getting steamrolled or victory. If your chat is quiet, be the person to talk. Tip number B, move as a team if you can. Nothing stronger than numbers. If you're on your own, all it takes is for one player who knows what's what or 2 players to stun you down. Being in a large group helps with that. Also, if you're in a large confrontation, be aware of your team's movements. Nothing worse than racking up a bunch of knockouts and assists only to find you're without backup getting knocked down instead. Finally, look for pinch opportunities. If the other 2 teams are duking it out, go make one side wish it had stayed home that day. Just don't get tunnel vision yourself. Now, all of this has been my experience while I worked up to get this, the Oppressor Key. Look at all of its inhuman Alexander 1 glory. There are loads of other rewards for doing PvP. After each match you get wolf marks for cosmetics and other goodies, and most Malmstones get you trophy crystals. There's also a few minions and framers kits, but the mount was the real reward. While I did this grind, I leveled Monk to 60 and Ninja to 58, meaning I don't know how to play these jobs with their new abilities, so that'll be fun later. If you found this video helpful, please leave a like. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this in the future. I'll see you in Savage.